All right, everybody. This is your stimulus update for April 18th, 2020. So first thing I want to say, just to offer a little bit of hope, and I obviously haven't independently verified this. This is not on the IRS website. I'm not seeing media outlets report this, but several of you commenters have told me that you received the payment status not available message on the IRS Get My Payment tool, and then a few hours later, you got your stimulus payment. Go figure, right? So on the one hand, that's great. I'm glad you got your stimulus, Chris Hinkle, Lolo Random, several others. But on the other hand, this just goes to show how dysfunctional the IRS Get My Payment tool is. You'd think that if someone was going to get their stimulus check via direct deposit today, the IRS Get My Payment tool would tell them and wouldn't have the payment status not available error, because obviously the IRS knows their payment status because they sent them a payment a few hours later. Of course, the silver lining to this is that even if you do get the payment status not available message, you may not have to be concerned too much. But the scary thing is that the payment status not available message could possibly mean, per the IRS, that you're not eligible for a payment. And this goes back to my point yesterday about, just look, I get it. The IRS has had a lot to do, okay? I acknowledge that. But please don't give the same messaging to people who are completely eligible for the stimulus and will receive it shortly. Don't give those people the same confusing message that you give to those who are not eligible for it at all. It's the community. Look, I get it if all the stimulus payments didn't roll out on time, if they're a couple days late. Right? But it's this communication breakdown that I think is just so unacceptable and really makes me question the type of people putting this together at the IRS. I'm just kind of getting pissed here because it's seeming to me that the ones who are getting their stimulus payments the easiest and with the least amount of confusion are the ones who need it the least. And the ones who need it the most are the ones the IRS has caused the most confusion for. And this isn't a hard and fast rule. I'm not saying that if you received your stimulus this week that you really didn't need it. I'm not saying that to Chris or to Lolo Random or anybody in particular, okay? This is just a general observation, all right? Not a scientific fact, okay? I did an informal poll of my friends about who's received their stimulus payment, okay? And generally speaking, there are exceptions to this, but the ones who got their stimulus payment this week with no confusion were the ones who were more or less comfortable. Okay, or at least not on their last leg. And in some cases, there were folks who weren't even worrying about it at all. People for whom an extra $1,200 or $2,400 or $2,900 popped up in their bank account, and it's just money they don't need, and they're probably just going to throw it in their Vanguard index funds or a savings account, right? I'm thinking in particular of a friend I have who's in engineering with a company you would all know. Based on some quick Google searches of his title and the company he works for, I'd estimate he probably makes about $120K a year right now. Married, wife stays at home with their kid, great family. He let me know he got $2,900 stimulus on Wednesday. Wasn't even really expecting it. Meanwhile, many of the ones who need their payment the most are the ones who have not received it and are in fact the most confused about it right now, and they're getting the most confusing messaging about it from the IRS with the stupid payment status not available error and other things. I'm thinking in particular of individuals who don't make enough to be required to file a tax return. Okay, because I've seen a lot of you in the comments who use the IRS tool for non-filers. Because if you don't make enough to file a tax return, you're pretty broke. And I hope that's not offending anybody, because you probably know you're broke because you feel it every day. And I feel for you, and I see the comments, you know, I'm down to my last $50. And I know, yes, you had to jump through some crazy hoops with the TurboTax Stimulus Edition or the drunkenly named non-filers into your payment info here application, which just rolled out a week before yesterday. And now, because the IRS probably hasn't processed that yet, they might have accepted it, but who knows if they processed it yet for stimulus purposes, you're getting these confusing messages on the IRS Get My Payment tool, like payment status not available. Meanwhile, my engineering friend, probably pulling 120 at least, stay-at-home wife, kid, beautiful little family, comfortable, filed a super easy tax return with TurboTax right when he got his W-2, probably directly imported his W-2 right to TurboTax, Took him all of 10 minutes this past February, right? He got a stimulus direct deposited, easy peasy on Wednesday, and he's basically forgotten about it today, probably. Now, I don't begrudge the fact that he got a stimulus. That's great for him, but why is he getting it, and people like him getting it, before the people who need it the most? Now, he's probably got 5 figures in his bank account right now, and probably 6 in his investment accounts. While I see some of you commenting, you're literally down to your last 50 or 100 or $25. We also have SSI and Veterans Benefits recipients just receiving clarification this week about whether or not they will receive their payments automatically. People making good money, decent money, already got their check, and they probably really didn't even need it in the first place. It's all backwards. It's all completely backwards, and the system is broken. And I wish I had all the answers in terms of timeline. People ask in the comments, they say, hey, this is my situation. When am I going to get my stimulus? Now, we've talked about the timelines previously, but as we've seen this week, who knows? You know, it can be anybody's guess, really. I mean, theoretically, the IRS knows, but I really don't think they even know. I think they're just flying by the seat of their pants, quite frankly. And I think the timeline will work for many people, but as we've seen this week, some people will apparently be left in the lurch. Another thing I learned from commenters is that it appears that the IRS is screwing people by taking the entire stimulus, both for spouse A and spouse B, for those married to those behind on child support, even though they filed injured spouse with their tax on their tax return previously. And clearly it's not supposed to be this way. This is contrary to what the IRS has said on the matter. And of course there's no one to reach at the IRS, and if they could reach somebody at the IRS, they'd probably just be told to file another injured spouse form just for the stimulus, which I shouldn't have had to do in the first place. Meanwhile, according to others, apparently some people who owed child support got a stimulus payment. And again, this is just commenters on my video, okay? I haven't really seen any media reporting this too much, but I believe y'all. And look at this. This is my last thing before I get into some Q&A. I'm in a CPA Facebook group, and one of the CPAs, this isn't a YouTube comment, so I blurred out the name and stuff, but he said, and I have no reason to think this guy is making this up. I've seen him post before, good guy. But he claims that a couple, and I assume they don't have qualifying children, who made $223,000 in 2018 and $247,000 in 2019, they got a nice little $2,400 surprise this week from the IRS. Meanwhile, those on their last $50 are being shown payment status not available. Point is, and you're probably getting tired of me saying this, and I'm probably speaking the obvious, but this whole thing is broken. It's completely shot. All right, I probably talked too much, just like yesterday, but now let's get into some questions. All right. Question 1. I made too much to qualify for a stimulus in 2018. In 2019, I am in the phase-out range. What can I do to lower my income to qualify for a full stimulus payment? Okay, so I went over this in the very first stimulus video I did when the CARES Act passed. But by phase-out range, what this individual means is they make more than the amount for his or her filing status to qualify for the full stimulus payment. Okay, now you've probably heard the maximum income a single person can have to get the full stimulus of $1,200 for them, assuming they don't have any children, is $75,000 of income. Okay, and then their maximum stimulus they can receive is reduced by 5 cents on the dollar for every dollar of income over $75,000. So if this individual has $80,000 of income, the difference between $80,000 and $75,000 is $5,000. You multiply that $5,000 times 5 cents on the dollar, you get $250. Okay, so their maximum stimulus they could get as a single individual with no children is $950, which is the typical maximum $1,200 minus the $250 we just calculated. So this individual is asking, if I'm in this position, what are strategies I could implement in order to qualify for the full $1,200 stimulus check? That's a great question. Probably the easiest one is to contribute to a traditional IRA if you have the cash. But if this is the only trick up your sleeve, this won't work if you're already covered by a retirement plan at work, because in 2019, if you are covered by a retirement plan at work and you make more than $74,000 excluding any potential IRA deduction, and you do make more than $74,000 if you're single because you said you're in the phase-out range, which means you make more than $75,000, then you don't qualify to take a deduction for your traditional IRA contributions. But if you do qualify to take a deduction for a traditional IRA contribution, know that the deadline to contribute for tax year 2019 has been extended to July 15, 2020. In a normal year, would have been April 15th. But the IRS extended it to July 15th this year, along with the 1040 deadline and a ton of other deadlines. And remember, contribution limit is $6,000 for tax year 2019 if you're under the age of 50 and $7,000 if you're 50 or older. So if you make 80, okay, and you're single, no kids, and you max out your traditional IRA, you can bring your income down to $74,000 to qualify for that full stimulus. I'd also say that if you're a gig worker, freelancer, or if you have side income, you're reporting on Schedule C, be aggressive with your deductions. I'm not saying make stuff up, that's fraud. But don't be afraid to write stuff off. You know, even home office if you qualify, even area in your home, regularly and exclusively used for your business, and not your W-2 job. This has to be for your own self-employment. Take it. Okay, look for other deductions, other things that you spent money on in your business to reduce your income. All right, I don't want to make this entirely a tax planning session, so let's move on. Next question. Will my stimulus be included in my bankruptcy estate? So Viridian Tax 192 asked a great question that I haven't covered yet. If I'm currently filing for Chapter 13 bankruptcy, will the bankruptcy trustee take my stimulus check? Now, if you don't know how Chapter 13 bankruptcy works, it's different than Chapter 7. Okay, and I think Chapter 7 is what many people associate bankruptcy with. It's like the monopoly guy with, like, you know, empty pockets. You know, you sell your property, pay all your debts, rest is discharged. That's Chapter 7 in a nutshell. And that's if you're, you know, really broke, very little cash flow, very little income. Okay. Chapter 13, you don't have to sell your stuff. You set up a repayment plan to your creditors, 3 to 5 years, and an appointed bankruptcy trustee, this individual, oversees the administration of this repayment plan. Typically, the payments are made to the trustee, who then disperses the money to the creditors according to the plan, and then after you've completed this repayment plan, your remaining debts are discharged. So what Viridian Tax 192 is asking is, hey, can my trustee make my stimulus payment part of my bankruptcy estate to be included in the repayment plan to my creditors? Now, I'm just speaking federally here, okay? There's nothing in the CARES Act preventing the bankruptcy trustee from requiring the stimulus payment to be made part of your repayment plan to repay to your creditors. And in fact, they may have an incentive to do so, since the trustee is generally paid a percentage of assets distributed. So it's possible. However, the United States Trustee Program, USTP, that's the part of the Department of Justice that oversees bankruptcy trustees, said in a notice to trustees, basically discouraging them from including stimulus payments in the bankruptcy estate. They said the United States trustee expects that it is highly unlikely that the trustee would administer the payment after consideration of all relevant circumstances. And by administer, they mean include in the bankruptcy estate. So they're basically discouraging this practice. Okay. Now, states may also have various bankruptcy exemptions that you could use, possibly, but I'm not a bankruptcy attorney. Probably too granular for this video anyway, so I'm going to leave it at that. Next question. I'm on Social Security and get my benefits on my Direct Express card. Will I get my stimulus on my Direct Express card? Yes, you will, at least according to the Social Security Administration. But here's the confusion, right? What if you filed a tax return with a bank account, direct deposit, but you get your benefits on Direct Express? Which will the IRS use for your stimulus? I can't give you a straight answer here, okay? And the way the IRS has handled things, I wouldn't be surprised if you might as well flip a coin, okay? So I think with this, it's like, I think there's no rhyme and reason here. That's what I'm beginning to suspect, all right? So I wouldn't be surprised if someone in your situation got it on their Direct Express while you got it on your bank account, or vice versa. I mean, it's frankly really anybody's guess right now with this stuff. There's probably something to do with when you filed your return. Did the IRS process your return, you know, before they process your stimulus? But frankly, in other situations right now, we're seeing two people with the exact same situation getting very different results. So I would say use that Get My Payment tool. I know it's not working for everybody. I've been crapping on it a lot, but it's the best thing we have right now to get a status update from the IRS about any particular situation. Okay, and I know some people have had success accessing it to get the details about where their payments are going. So be diligent, continue to try to access that Get My Payment tool. It's the same thing, you know, with the TurboTax card, H&R Block Emerald card. Okay, they put out statements. All right, you can go on their website, you can see the statements they put out. But really, in the real world, there's not going to be any rhyme or reason here, right? I'm saying commenters saying, hey, I got a fee taken out of my refund and I got my stimulus just fine. But then others in the exact same situation are not fine, and they're not getting their stimulus, and they're going on the IRS Get My Payment tool, and they're seeing a completely unknown bank account information that the IRS is supposedly using to send their stimulus payment, right? No rhyme or reason, just absolute confusion. Anyway, gosh, I'm trying to keep these from getting too long because I know people don't necessarily watch the whole thing, but the questions they need answered might be at the end. Okay, but hey, happy Saturday, y'all. Enjoy your weekend. Keep trying to get my payment tool. Don't stress, all right? And I will see you tomorrow.